All right, Power to Truth with me on JJ Tawan. Tonight, our focus on the coronavirus, how we're handling it as a country. And of course, Mr. Khandani Msibi, CEO of 3Sixty group of companies, as well as Professor Jeff Mphahlele from Medical Research Council, my panelists tonight. Mr. Msibi, address me on the vaccine. I see you avoided my first question, which was, do you think we know what we are doing in terms of being able to get, to a stage where we have vaccinated the population, adequately, number one. Number two, please address what the Prof is saying. He's saying that there's no way that we're going to have a vaccine developed here at home on time to be able to, for it to be part of the vaccination drive that is sorely needed. Mr. Msibi?
Oh, yeah, my apologies. I thought I addressed this when I mentioned that it's a crisis, and in a crisis, no one is going to be right. We can all be right in hindsight.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest problem with South Africa and the vaccines is that, JJ, I don't know if you know that South Africa used to manufacture its own vaccines from around 1952, and we stopped around 2000 after we've taken over the country.
Why on earth did we stop?
I think it was part of, we stopped a whole lot of things. We sold Telkom, we sold, ISCO was sold before us, Sasol. There's a whole lot of things that we've done. It's actually 3 organizations that used to manufacture vaccines that had to stop, and we lost their capability as a country. And similarly with the ESCOM, we used to build power station every 5 years, and we stopped and we lost their capability. So this is not something that South Africa cannot rebuild. I just want to get back to the issue of our approach as a group, right? We've developed prophylaxis. Now, prophylaxis is what stops you from getting the virus, right? And we've developed a treatment which treats the virus when it is inside the cell. Because the way this virus works, it infects your cells, and then once inside the cells, it replicates, and then you start having the coronavirus disease. Now, we've been walking the tight scientific route with the CSIR. We're now going, I mentioned that we're going for final efficacy test with the University of Colorado.
But what's your target? Is your target that you would, this thing would be ready this year?
If all goes well, JJ, we should be launching these products to the market from around May this year. Right? But that's not the vaccine, because I understand that it's going to take us time to vaccinate. And in the intervening period, you got to have something that will actually help you survive the virus. Because you can imagine someone who's infected, when you are told to go home and be there by yourself, in a room by yourself, it can be a very traumatic situation you find yourself in, when you're taking nothing that is helping you except advice from people in the streets and social media saying take lemon, steam with this and all of that. But there's no scientific reliable product that you're relying on. So we're responding to that, and it's a whole lot of things that we're doing with the CSIR. And then coming to the issue of the vaccine, right? We are developing. Firstly, we had an agreement with the Russians for Sputnik. And some things happened along the way.
Tell me more about that, because we are very curious about this Sputnik thing.
I think you understand that sadly. And this is one thing that I believe is a global problem, that the response to COVID has become tragic as it is. This disease has become a commercial opportunity that countries are actually competing for, right? And individual companies. But we've decided that we start another project with the CSIR, because we're ending the one stage which will get to market around around April, May, if things go well. And then we're starting a vaccine development program that will take us about 9 months. I understand the professor when he says that maybe it might be too late, but I think the evidence that is coming through is that the antibodies that are induced by the virus as well as the vaccine don't last more than a year at best. So which means that the vaccine strategy lends itself to an annual vaccination.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
Therefore, even if we're developing a solution now, if we are successful in a year's time, we'll be able to contribute towards the country and the continent's strategy in response to COVID. So
that's interesting. That's quite interesting. So not all is lost. In other words, if we miss the first cycle, it's not the end of the story.
Absolutely. But I think more importantly, JJ, is that we will have developed a platform upon which we can rapidly develop vaccines for future pandemics or even future variants of a coronavirus. I think if you don't play as a country, you're not quite a sovereign state. You are a dependent state because your solutions must always come from other countries. And we do believe that South Africa has had the sophistication to play at this level and does have the sophistication to play at this level. And I think for me, maybe, Professor, this is something that is a problem within academia, right? Relative to how business works. South Africa has a whole lot of scientists, right? And very top universities in science, right? But my observation as a layman is that it is hard for scientific institutions to cooperate than it is for business to cooperate, right? And I think this is one of those things that if it wasn't hard to cooperate, there would have been a curiosity from other scientists on the work that we are doing with the CSIR, which we have not been secretive about it. We've been very vocal that, hey, we're doing something with the CSIR on the COVID, which we think that is a novelty, and we've gone way long down the road in terms of this work.
Let me bring the Prof. The Prof, you can comment on that, but I wanted you to tackle the issue of geopolitics, whether you believe that the whole issue of finding a vaccine, etc., was a victim of our geopolitics, in this way that we are all members of the World Health Organization, we are all members of the United Nations, right? And then we are members of the AU. And between all of those multilateral organizations, there has not been a decision that says, as the vaccine becomes available, it must be equitably accessed by the entire world. So we are now as spectators sitting here in the bottom corner of the continent while the West is busy vaccinating like crazy, and we are told that you'll get it somewhere in June when more people of yours are dead. Would you share that sentiment that the geopolitics have interfered with this situation, or they have played themselves out, even in the context of a pandemic that's affecting the whole world?
Well, it's part of vaccine nationalism because we have been anxious about vaccine nationalism all along. We knew that something like this is likely to happen because the manufacturers of vaccines are in rich countries. And in Africa, we only have, few companies that are dealing with vaccines, and really one or two that can develop a vaccine from scratch. So if you look at all the vaccines that we are using in different countries all over the world, they either come from India, Europe, or the US. Of course, China has always had its own market of developing their own vaccines, and they also export their own vaccines, of course, to other countries. Russia does have the capacity to produce their own vaccines, and probably other countries in Asia. But all I'm saying is that we knew that if we were to be in the middle of a pandemic like this one, and we rely on the current manufacturers, there's going to be a global shortage of vaccines.
Yeah.
And obviously this has
But
been...
then what's the point of these multilateral organizations, Prof, if they can't come into the gap at a time like this? What's the point of BRICS, for example, if there couldn't be a BRICS strategy on vaccines so that we can take advantage of the fact that India has something, China has something, Russia has something? In terms of advancement of developing vaccines, while at the back of the queue, politicians take offense when you say that, but that's the truth. The truth is we haven't started vaccinating a single person here, and millions of people around the world already have been vaccinated by our friends, politically, in the BRICS, everywhere else.
Yeah, and if you look at the countries that are already vaccinating, they do have capacity to produce vaccines one way or the other. Not all the countries, because I don't want to be criticized for saying something wrong, but most of the countries that are vaccinating have got the capacity to produce their own vaccines. Yeah. So it's up to a country to take the lead. We might be part of BRICS, we might be part of maybe the G20 and so on, but it's up to the country to take the leadership if they want to develop their own products. If the country fails to do that, you're not going to blame, the grouping that you belong to. The grouping can assist, and I like to believe that even if I'm not quite familiar with the bilateral discussions and the negotiations that took place to secure the vaccine from the Serum Institute of India, part of the influence is probably
the BRICS.
Because that we belong to the BRICS.
It doesn't change the fact that we are still at the back of the queue. The world is a village, it's so networked that there's no reason why we should be starting in March or whenever else this vaccine is said to be arriving. But after the break, I want us to round off the discussion by saying, way forward. If somebody is watching, they have not followed these discussions about the vaccine, etc. What would you say to them that would give them hope that we are on the right track and we shouldn't lose hope about how to deal with the vaccine? We will deal with that straight after the break. Stay tuned for more conversation after this.